Welcome to Reaching Out. I'm your host, Zack Carter. Please join me as I speak with a diverse group of people to find out their thoughts on religion, politics, and culture. This episode, I'm speaking with Chaz Hofler, rapper, artist, entrepreneur, and family man. Chaz's life began in a rough part of Brooklyn where he began selling drugs at a young age. He would eventually be arrested for armed robbery and would spend 3.5 years in prison, where in his own words, his journey would officially begin. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Chaz Hofler. Hello, everybody. I am here today with Chaz Hofler. We're sitting in my mother's dining room, drinking lemon tea.
Right.
That doesn't like take away from your street cred if we talk about drinking lemon tea. I was asking my coworker today, can rappers drink milk? Like, because I don't know if that's soft or not. So, right. What's your opinion on these things? This is what we came to find out. No? Yes? No?
Oh. I mean, it's smooth. You know what I'm saying?
It's smooth, of course.
Smooth. So.
Where'd you grow up? You said Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, New York. Yeah,
Brooklyn, New York.
Bed-Stuy. Yeah.
Okay. What was that like growing up in that area?
Oh man, I mean, it's nothing like the way it is now. Growing up, it was rough. Very violent. You know, it was a violent neighborhood. A lot of poverty going on. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of came up rough. Trying to, you know, just get it any way you can. You know what I mean? Whether it's stealing, hustling, gambling, you know what I mean? And then, you know, you got the other side of it, the drug abuse, you know what I mean? And so, it's like so many different vices, so many different things to get into that are negative coming up in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah?
Yeah. Most of my life, I love my mother, but, you know, I came up when she was really struggling with drugs. She was into drugs before she got pregnant with me, and then she quit while she was pregnant, and then when she had me, she just got right back into it. My dad, the same thing, but he was more of a street guy. You know, I always heard stories about him growing up.
Yeah,
and he was in prison most of my life. You know, so he was in the early part of my life, but when I turned 7. Right before my 8th birthday, he got locked up. Yeah, and he was gone for about 15 years.
What happened? What did he do? Locked up for?
He had a gun charge, and he in New York they have this thing like kind of like a habitual felon. Okay. So he was like his third strike.
So 3 strike. Yeah.
Yeah. So his sentence was 6 to life.
Okay.
Meaning 6 is your minimum, but life is your max. So you got to get paroled out. So he would, after he did his 6 years, he went to the board. They denied him. He did another 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They denied him again after that. Gave him another 2 years. So, but then one time they gave him 1 year. And so what he did, he ended up getting hit until he got 15 years, and he went and finally got paroled out. Yeah. And by that time, he got out of prison the same time that I got out of prison, same year.
Really?
Yeah, same year I got out of prison, he got out of prison.
You guys still close, you and your dad?
Yeah. We're still close, man. We've had some challenges in our relationship, you know, not gonna lie about that. Yeah. When he first came home, we kind of clicked like as if no time was ever lost. And, you know, because one thing about my dad, even though he wasn't there for those 15 years of my life, the first 7 years of my life, he was there. Even though he was like in the streets, he tried to raise me different. You know, from like staying in school and you know, just making me study, eating the right foods. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just he tried to raise me on a different path, and it just kind of like the streets got the best of him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I didn't have that like, I know a lot of guys who have a lot of bitterness and animosity against their dads. You know, like, you know, my dad was never there, my dad was away, and they kind of hate their dad, But I didn't have that. And then while he was in prison, he always reached out to me. He always wrote me.
Yeah.
He always tried his best, and I never really wrote him back, honestly.
Okay.
I probably written him maybe about 5 letters by the time he was in, maybe 10, because when I got locked up, then I started writing him a little bit more.
Okay.
But I could probably count on both hands on how many times I've written him during his whole time in prison. You know what I'm saying? But he always wrote me.
Yeah.
Wherever I was at. So he loved me the best way he could. Mm-hmm. And so, my dad is no monster. He just made some bad choices.
Yeah.
And so me not having him, and then us kind of like getting reunited, it was just like, yo, man, I've been waiting for you all my whole life. You know what I'm saying? And he'd been wanting to be with me his whole life.
Yeah.
My whole life. You know what I'm saying? So I can say that, I pretty much talk to my dad every day. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. At least once a day we're making a phone call. You know what I mean?
At one point you ended up in prison as well. How did that happen?
Well, like I was saying before, like my mom was like a drug addict, but she's drug free now. Praise God.
Awesome. Wow,
yeah, she's clean. My dad is clean. My dad is also very successful in his business. He's doing really well. But she used to sell drugs as well. Yeah. And then she kind of went from being this, this like big drug dealer in Brooklyn to becoming more of a drug addict. Like she was always using drugs, but she was really making her money off of the drugs, even though it's the wrong thing, but she was making a lot of money. But she went from not making as much and actually using a lot of it and kind of getting strung out. Yeah. So I wasn't put in a position where, I wanted nice things. I wanted, what other people had. And so I had to go and do the same thing. And it started from me selling candy, you know what I'm saying, on a train.
Is that a drug?
No, that's actually the real candy.
You mean candy? Okay.
Yeah, like M&Ms.
Yeah, like I don't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
M&M peanuts and Snickers. You know what I'm saying? On the trains in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, actual Snickers.
So like I always had this like hustle. From selling candy, then kind of getting into drugs, and selling that, and.
So did like people come to you and say, "Hey, man, I see you're selling candy." Like,
no, it wasn't like that. Sometimes it's like that, but it was one of those things where like we live in the hood, and it's like we know like that's the spot where they have the drugs at. You know what I'm saying? Where we can kind of get it at wholesale price. You know what I'm saying? And we were young, so we're trying to get like little half ounces and ounces to kind of turn around and flip it. Selling nickels and dimes, which is.
I've heard the term in rap songs.
Yeah, $5 and $10 bags of.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
Nickels and dimes.
You're gonna have to do a lot of that, like explaining to me.
Yeah,
I grew up in like white suburbia,
right?
So, like everything I know about the hood comes from like Jay-Z and Common, like like Mos Def. Those are the guys that taught me about the hood. I'm like, okay, all right. Cool.
So it went from that to like me graduating to like wanting to rob and steal. Okay. So kind of fast forward, I was living in Virginia, not doing well. Now I got a brother, my dad's other son, right? Mm-hmm. He got out of prison, and so now you can see like this is like a pattern. My brother, he gets out of prison, and when he used to call when he was away, he used to call my grandmother, and I used to rap for him, and he was like, "Yo, man, you're a beast, man. I love your music." He's always want me like to get with him when he comes out. Yeah. So now he's out, and he's like, "Yo, I'm out now. Listen." So he's living in Charlotte. He was in New York, but he married a woman in Charlotte. So he's like, "Yo, come down here with me." So I go down to Charlotte with him, and that's where I got locked up at, was in Charlotte for a robbery. But I did time for an armed robbery. 3 to 5 years, they offered me plea bargaining. I ended up doing 3.5 years. Speaking of that situation, that's when it really hit. Like, yo, I'm like really like locked up. You know what I mean? And it's not like, yo, I can just, I got to do what I got to face this. And so, shortly before I got locked up, man, I remember having a conversation with my grandmother, and I was just going through some things, and she was just kind of like, all you need is God. My grandmother was that voice of God in my life, before I got saved, before I committed my life to God. And she was just saying, like, all I need was God, And so, like, she knew that me and my brother was, like, up to no good in Charlotte, you know what I mean? He was just doing a lot of wrong things. And she just kind of burned it in my spirit where when I got locked up, I just remember those words. All I need was God. So I was worrying about, if my friends are gonna stick in my life, my girl is gonna write me, and this and that. But all I could remember, like everything I was thinking about and worried about, I could remember my grandmother saying, all I needed was God.
So was that like almost immediate, or was it like, were you in there for a while and you're kind of like doing your own thing? And then it hit you, or were you just like from that moment you were in there, you're like, man, something's got to change?
Yeah, I would say, all right, first, okay, I remember when I first got locked up. I remember like 2 weeks after, I got into a fight with a guy.
Yeah.
Went to the hole, and that was like my first experience with the hole. So here I am.
What is that like?
Man, now, later on during my time in prison, I could probably do 30, 60 days in a hole and no problem. But this was like a first time being like confined.
Yeah.
So I remember talking to the officer after the fight. I'm like, yo, what's about to happen? They're like, oh, you going to the hole. So I'm like, yo, how long I'm being there? Like 10 days. I'm like, 10 days?
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's just, no, they said 15 days. I end up doing 10 days.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, oh my God. I like, you know what I mean? It's like 15 days. And so I spent a lot of time, kind of crying out to God, like, you know what I mean? I really messed up, you know what I'm saying? I'm in a bad situation. But, I was still trying to be tough, but also knowing that, I need God to get me out of this, and so, time goes on. And I say about 2 months after it was this one night, man, I really got to see how bad I was. Like, it just kind of really hit me. So this is like 2 months into me being locked up. So like, you know what I mean? And I had this night where I really got to see how bad I was, how wicked I was. And if I had to stand before a righteous judge, I was finished, you know what I mean? Like I had nothing, you know what I mean? I had nothing to offer. I was just like terrible. And it really touched me. And I had got to this place that night that I was like, yo, I want forgiveness more than I want to be free. Like if I had to pick, I just want forgiveness at this moment. You know what I mean? Like if God is like, yo, if I had 2 wishes and God's like, yo, and then I'm like, I would probably pick forgiveness. Like getting free and then going back to the same lifestyle was not what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to be, I did want to be free, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be forgiven for all the wrong that I've done. It's like I really got to see it. I wasn't no longer numb to it. You know what I'm saying? The drugs is kind of starting to wear out of my system. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm just like really looking like, wow. And I started realizing all the people that I hurt, all the things I've done wrong. And it's like really setting in. And I just wanted forgiveness, man. And I think that was when my journey started. Right then. You know what I mean? And everything began to change because I began to draw near to God through the Bible. I want to know the God of the Bible.
What would you tell yourself like as a teenager? Like what advice would you give yourself as a teenager? About life, about what to pursue, what to stay away from?
What would I give myself as a teenager?
Yeah, what kind of advice?
Man,
because there might be people listening right now that hear what you have to say.
I would have definitely and I know everybody don't have this situation, but I would definitely told myself to get out of New York. Yeah. And not saying
to get out of the area you were in.
Yeah. Yeah. Get out of that environment.
So if you're in like a bad environment.
Yeah.
Remove yourself from
Remove yourself the best way you can. Sometimes some people like I had a way out. And my grandmother lived in Richmond, Virginia, and in Henrico, nice part. So I had somewhere to go. Some people don't have that. Yeah. But environment is everything. And if you can't leave your like environment, at least try to be careful of your like the people you surround yourself with. You know what I mean?
So like even in a bad environment, there's good people there.
There's good
Surround
people.
yourself with those good people.
Yeah. Find the good people, you know. Man. I was gonna share this one thing, man. I remember a guy, he lives in the projects in Richmond, and he is a friend of my cousin's child's father. And so he was over at my grandmother's house, and he was just telling us how, before he got to that part, he was just talking about how dudes, get out of prison and they go right back in, and they don't really have nothing. And he was speaking from a place of like kind of like defeat, like it's not set up for people to win when they get out of prison. Yeah. And like I kind of stepped up and said something. I was like, I did 3.5 years in prison. Yeah. And my life has changed. I was like, people really want to change, they can. You know what I mean? And but he said something that kind of made me really think. He said, bro, I'm looking around at your support. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm looking at your grandmother's house. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at what you had to come home to. Yeah. But you got a lot of guys coming home and going right back to the projects. You know what I mean?
So they have nothing to look forward to when they get out of.
Yeah, and they don't have, and they going right back into the bad environment. See, I was blessed enough. I've always said that, I was able to get out and not go back to prison, but I never really looked at how it's not like I got out and went back to bad style. Or I got out and went to like, it's the project somewhere. And so I really want to one day be like a hand to help people in those situations, to kind of pull them out. Yeah. Because some people are going right back, you know what I mean, into the same thing. And it's really hard, like that, Now I'm a true believer that, if you really have your mind, you really develop a relationship with God, He will make a way, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's not going to just throw you to the wolves, you know what I mean? And not give you any grace to survive. So I do believe that it's still, it's still predicated on your relationship with God. But some people don't even have that when I had, what I mean, when I got out. So definitely, man, environment, your surrounding, who you surround yourself with, the people you surround yourself with is very powerful to pull you back down. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I've heard people say this, and I'm curious on your opinion on it, whether it's naive or whether it's the truth or somewhere in between. But I've heard that there was a study done that an institution put out saying that statistically people can pull themselves out of poverty in America if one, they graduate high school, make sure they graduate high school. Two, they make sure they don't have any kids out of wedlock. And three, they get a job and keep a job. Now, you come from a bad area. Does that sound reasonable to you, or is it more complicated than that? I know you're talking about like, hey, I had to remove myself completely from that environment, but do you think those rules or guidelines or whatever could apply to people in those situations where like, okay, if I can aim for these things, I can pull myself out of this?
I think if you can aim for those things, it would give you a better leverage on getting out of poverty. I think it does help, but I don't think that it's like the final say. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do think that not really getting a good education and having children everywhere, it's kind of hard to get ahead when you have mouths to feed, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah. You're struggling yourself. So I do think that if you can kind of watch those three things, I think those three things you mentioned is very important to kind of give you some better leverage. Yeah. And getting a job, keeping a job, or whatever. But I think it definitely will help. I just don't think it's like the only thing. You know what I mean? Like the only way to find yourself out of, poverty. Yeah. Or to keep yourself from going into it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's take a left turn real quick, because we've kind of been touching on it a little bit, but you're a rapper, hip hop. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk a little hip hop real quick. Hip hop.
Yeah, some hip hop.
I love hip hop.
So who are your inspirations? Word on the street is guys like you're a big fan of like Will Smith, right? And like Soulja Boy,
Nah.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Nah. Who are those guys?
Who are those guys? They're an inspiration to the rest of the rappers in this world. That's who.
Right.
No, who'd you grow up on? Who's inspired you to do the music you do?
To be real, man, I kind of grew up on like I would say like this Cassidy.
Cassidy? Okay.
Cassidy is where I developed this love for like articulating words and music, like lyricism, you know, and punchlines and metaphors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listening to Cassidy and guys like Lloyd Banks. I know these are secular artists, but like that's where I was at.
Yeah.
When
totally.
this thing started stirring up. And so, you know, movies like 8 Mile, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 8 Mile really did something to me. Like, I'm like, yo, I want to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I like this, you know what I mean? And so I would watch that movie. I remember watching it. Man, to be real, I remember being in a shelter with my mom.
Yeah.
So when he had a part in there, like, yeah, I still live in the trailer with my mom. You know what I mean? I was in the shelter with my mom. He was having battles at the shelter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I wasn't living in the shelter. So like, you know, it used to speak to me in a certain way. You know what I mean? And but like that's where that thing started to stir up, man, and just had a love for hip hop. But it was something about how Cassidy used to write. Like I remember like literally taking like Cassidy's stuff and like trying to like make my own words.
Yeah.
But his same flow. Now over time I developed my own flow.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
Like but like he was like my training wheels.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like his flow was like my training wheels, and then like I kind of developed my own thing. Yeah. Over time, you know. Now like cats like Kendrick, you know what I mean, J. Cole.
Who's the Christian hip hop guys that you listen to?
Right off the bat, I mean, yo, I love Lecrae, and I admire Lecrae. I really look up to him. He might not be the best like lyrically. Yeah. But when you put the whole package. He's number one.
Yeah. Did you read his biography? His autobiography?
No, I haven't read it.
Dude, it's real good.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm not a big Lecrae fan myself, but like I grew to appreciate what he did because his whole thing was, first it was like, oh, I'm just gonna praise God or whatever, and I'm gonna shout him out on my music. But then he's like, I'm tired of just like preaching to the choir. Like I want to transition. I want to like build a bridge. To the secular world and begin trying to pull people in that don't have anything to do with Christianity and try to reach out to them and speak to them as much as I'm speaking to people in the church. And so he began like using, secular hip hop artists on his albums, and he started talking about other things that not just God, but also things that are going on in the country. Right. And so like now guys like Andy Mineo are trying to do the same thing he was doing, where he gets like John Bellion on his last album to come in and sing on his tracks, and so like now these other guys are trying to do the same. So I appreciate like you're saying, I appreciate Lecrae and what he's done, even though I'm not like the biggest fan myself. But I know a lot of people who really like him. Right.
Yeah, he's dope, man. Dope individual. Well, as outside of him, Eshon Burgundy. Yeah. When it comes to like a rapper, like he's really good. You know what I mean? Dope music, dope testimony as well. Yeah. Yeah, man. Like I think that dude was like shot a few times.
He was shot a few times.
Not a few different occasions, but like it was just one time. I think he took a few shots.
He got shot.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think he took a few. He got a few holes in him. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. So yeah, that. But
I've never had any holes in me, so you take one and you got it. You're much more manly than I am.
If I'm not mistaken, man. But he's a dope artist, dope, powerful testimony. How God restored his life. I think Jackie Hill Perry is like the best female rapper. You know what I'm saying? Not just in Christian, but like she is really, really, really good. Like she's up there.
Well, cool. Well, so I mean, we're talking about all these other artists. Let's talk about you real quick. What are you working on right now for your stuff?
Yeah, man. Right now, I'm like putting the finishing touches on my album. Yeah. This would be like my third project. You know what I'm saying? It's called Keep the Dream Alive.
Okay.
And, you know, just that statement, man, has become like my mantra where, you know, I had to really live that thing out. I was faced with challenges and all this different stuff, trials, and I had to just keep my dream alive, you know? And so, like, you know, like I have a CDL, you know what I mean? And every day I'm like kind of tempted to just go back, just go drive trucks.
Drive track trailers.
You know, like I can just do that and like my family.
You can make some money. Yeah,
family. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's tough, but I've talked to some guys that do it. It's tough work, but you get paid.
Right. So I'm kind of like tempted with that, but it's like, well, keeping my dream alive, man, and like being an entrepreneur, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got your own business, right?
Yeah. So that's but the only thing about it, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that album, Keep the Dream Alive, is all about all of that. And I'm just talking about like having, you know, getting married, having children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know.
And how when did you get married?
Got married 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
And okay, great. And how did you guys like
January 10th? That's like I'm kind of struggling. Hope wifey don't get mad when she hears this. It's like I'm struggling. But January 10th, 2015. I met her in 2014. It started off just friends, man, and then like it just began to grow. And like I was at the place in my life I was like kind of like tired of love a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, not the God love, but like just tired of like the whole relationship love type thing, and just like, yo, man, I just want to focus on career and making money. And
I mean, when all the ladies are flocking to you, man, of course it's gonna get tiring eventually.
Man, it's just like, yo, because it was just everything was failing. It was like I was like, man, but I felt like when I met her and everything was good, and I'm like, all right, I've seen this before. You know what I mean? Things start off good, but I was just like, I just felt like in my heart, like God was like, yo, give it one more swing. You know what I mean? And you're gonna knock it out the park. You know what I mean? And like I gave it one more shot. And like that has been like the best decision, like one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. You know what I mean? My wife is precious, you know, she's the right fit for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just to think like my wife has never been with any other man, never been on a date till I'm the only person to ever take on a date. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm her first everything. You know what I mean? And so she's a blessing. You know what I mean? It's like she was just cut out and preserved for me. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome, man. And you got a kid?
Yeah. Then we got a little boy. You know what I mean? Little guy, and like that's my heart as well, man. Like my son. You know.
What's his name?
Chaz. Yep. Chaz Hofler, the second. Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you are a rapper, man. You got an ego on you. Yeah. You too.
Right. Because I'm like, yo, my name is so unique. I just felt like, you know, let's keep it going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And what's funny is I had a dream, and I said it in one of my songs. You know, my wife woke up, you know, feeling nauseous. Could have sworn she was nauseous the day before this, as I recall it. Fast forward, I had a dream I had a daughter, but the sonogram said I got a boy, I can't call it. Yeah. So that was like a real life situation where I had a dream I had a daughter while my wife was pregnant, and I was just like, I'm gonna have a daughter. I had a dream I had a daughter.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and when the sonogram, it was like, oh, it's a boy, and it just kind of blew me like, oh, okay. So, you know, you can't
you're already excited for the daughter.
Yeah, right. But now I have a daughter on the way, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, and she's due in September. My son will be 2 in September. You know what I mean? So
wow, he's super cute.
Yeah, man. He's thank you, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. I'm just hoping that my little girl be just as cute. You know what I mean? Or cuter than him. Yeah. Yeah. So I love them. Those are my babies, man. I love them so much, man. Even my unborn, just like has so much love for her already. You know what I mean? And so God has really restored my life, giving me the things that I really wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what are you gonna teach them as far as like how to live life? I mean, like, because you've got this crazy roller coaster of a life where you've got some downs, you've got some ups. So like, what are you gonna teach them about the downs? What are you gonna teach them about the ups? Like, How do you avoid these mistakes? How do you do these good things?
I'm gonna definitely teach them to stay consistent. And I want to teach my kids, all of my kids, entrepreneurship. Like if they want to get a job, like if they say like, hey, I just want to be a veterinarian, like, yeah, I'm not against that, but I want them to know that, I want them to know that you can make your own money. You know what I'm saying? You can start your own business. So I feel like that's one thing that kids don't learn, like in public school system. Yeah. They don't really learn entrepreneurship. So I want to teach them that. And I want to teach them, like, when life is up, you praise God, like something my dad, he always says, you have to praise God and the rain and the sunshine, you know what I mean? And, and so I want to teach them that, like, just because it's down, don't mean you give up. And I want to be an example, an expression that if you continue and you stay consistent, whether it's down, whether it's up, but you just stay consistent, that things will work out. You know what I mean? It'll all work out.
Well, let's go to the bonus interview section real quick. Wow. And we've kind of been talking about a lot of serious things. And I know the audience, these are the kind of questions that I know after this kind of interview, the audience is really, really needing to know your opinion on. So I'll just go ahead and get it started. Would you rather always smell bad or always itch? Obviously these are questions no one cares about, but
I would probably take the smell bad one.
You would rather always smell bad?
Yeah, the itching, like,
I'd be self-conscious.
Right. I guess if you're itching, you can kind of like scratch it with no one knowing.
Yeah, when no one's paying attention.
Yeah, you just kind of like
do a quick scratch.
You just gotta play it off and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like,
But I know I can get annoyed. You know what I mean? Really easy. Smell bad is like, yo, that's your problem, not mine.
All right, so when was the most inappropriate time you giggled at something? It's a tough
maybe
one.
at a funeral.
You've giggled at a funeral?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was the way someone was crying. I shouldn't.
It was the way someone was crying.
Yeah, and I was like, I gotta get out of here.
I told. I think for me, I think I started giggling when I was getting a spanking one time, which I think is gonna, make my parents angrier at the time.
You know what? I now think about it, was this one time, and this guy was singing. It was at a Christian open mic.
Yeah.
And they had like a really nice culture there.
Yeah.
And like this dude got up to sing, and like it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible, but he was singing his heart out to God.
Yeah.
And it was so bad, and I was just like, yo, I really don't want to laugh, but like this, and like you can see people like to this day it's still funny because people were just like getting up, leaving, like they just couldn't take it, like
they got up and left. It was
like
so
just
bad.
To keep themselves from laughing, because it wasn't like an environment you could just laugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was a real peaceful culture, but like he was really bad. It was like, oh my god, gotta get out of here.
That's hilarious. Would you rather? Oh no. Would you rather have your grandmother's hairstyle or her first name?
First name.
First name? What's her first name?
Julia.
Julia?
But then my other one name is Clementine.
Clementine?
I know a guy named Clement, so
yeah, you would shorten it to Clement.
Yeah,
so
like,
exactly
call me
what
Clement.
that short for? It's Clement.
Right.
Clementine.
Call me Clement.
Call me Clement.
Yeah.
My rapper name is Orange.
Right.
Yeah, I actually with that one I would have to go with my grandmother's first name, which is would be Norma.
Right.
I would definitely have Norma than
my grandma used to rock this Jerry curl, man. She rocked it for a while.
Man, I think the Jerry curls are gonna make a comeback, man. Are you sure?
Oh no, man.
Last question. What superpower would you expect to gain if a radioactive squirrel bit you?
Be able to climb any tree.
Being able to climb
trees.
How would you fight bad guys with the tree climbing ability?
Wow. It would be the, just slinging acorns.
Slinging acorns, climbing trees and slinging acorns. They would never see it coming, man.
Right, slapping it with my tail.
Slapping with your tail.
Spitting out my mouth and turn around and slap it with the tail.
And this wasn't on the list, but in the same vein, I'm very particular about this answer, so you gotta make sure you get it right. Would you rather have the superhero power of flight or invisibility? There is a right answer to this, just saying.
Oh, there is a right one.
There is a right answer, in my opinion. So be careful what you choose.
Flight or invisibility? I would say invisibility.
Oh, that's the wrong answer.
What?
That is the wrong answer. Dude, flight is, like, what are you going to do with invisibility? Like, nothing good. Like, nothing good comes out of being invisible, but, like, being able to fly, like, if you're like, man, I feel like I want to travel to Europe right now, I'm just going to fly over there. So
You're right. I was thinking that, being invisible, you could just be invisible and just catch a flight.
Just catch a flight?
Yeah, nobody knows you got on the
flight.
flight.
Nothing good, man. You're like stealing money from airports. If you're interested in checking out Chaz Hofler's music, and I do recommend you do, you can check him out at chazhofler.me. That's CHAZHOFLER.me. Played a couple of his songs in the podcast today. You can also hear him on SoundCloud, Facebook, iTunes, and Spotify. His new album's coming out at the end of this year, 2017. And if you're interested in his merchandise, go visit dreamalive.store. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks to Chaz Hofler for joining me. Also, thanks to Soulish for our music, and special thanks to Ryan Jock, Will Brimage, and Jasmine Graves. Jasmine helped me come up with the bonus interview questions, so that was awesome that she did that. Last but not least, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, and please join us next time at Reaching Out. Once again, my name is Zack Carter, and I hope you have a splendid day. Bye.